So a single woman would still be able to vote, but once she married, then her husband would vote for her? Is that
Yeah, well, her husband wouldn't vote instead of her. Her husband would cast the vote that she and her husband and household, um, he was representing the whole household
right? But
when he
presumably
voted.
he would have the power to simply decide what the household should be voting, right? I mean,
Sure.
isn't he in the leadership position there?
Yes, he would have if they disagreed. Um, he would break the tie, and he might break the tie by going with her desires,
Mm,
or he might break the tie his way. But under the current system, where the husband and wife go vote,
hmm.
if they agree with each other, all you're doing is multiplying the total tally by two. And
Right.
if they disagree with each other, then they're just canceling each other out.
Mm,
They might as well just save the gas money and stay home and have a
mm.
nice steak dinner.
But it just seems there's something strange about the idea that I don't know someone like Amy Coney Barrett, right, who's a Supreme Court justice doing the Lord's work, presumably
Yeah.
supporting many uh, the view of many religious people in this country. Uh, by virtue of being married, she shouldn't be able to vote
Right.
or vote her conscience if it differed from her husband's in this
Right.
scheme.
Yes, it seems the reason this slaps us in the face as being very odd,
Mm,
is because we are an atomistic generation. We think that the primary unit of society is the individual,
hmm.
and each individual is like a BB, and then you put all the BBs in a sack, and it's like a big beanbag, so you can push it in anywhere, and then you have certain lax moral things, ubiquitous porn and other things that in effect grease the BBs. I believe I'm a Burkean conservative, and I would go back to Burke's notion of the little platoons. I think a healthy society is a molecular society
Mm,
where each individual bonds in complex molecules with family, extended family, churches, denomination, towns, that sort of thing. You have complex molecules forming. And because we have a sort of a radical individualistic and egalitarian view, we want each individual to cast their sacred vote.
Okay. I think it's really interesting for him to describe, and this is something we constantly are talking about when we look at families, multi-generational families and family teams, is the difference between thinking about the smallest unit of society as being the individual, or the family. Do we exist within these complex molecules, or are those incidental and that we are all simply lone individuals? And his point about the BB being in a sack and then getting greased by all this, basically libertarian sin, that he's sort of describing, is what he's saying is there are enormous downsides to this atomistic way of living. That we put each other together, kind of an artificial. We're not relationally connected. We don't have sort of common bonds, but we are sort of stuck together because we are in the same sack. So we're all Democrats or Republicans or whatever, and you can kind of pull these individual BBs out of any structure. So you can have a family and have, like, five of them in this structure and four of them in that structure. And then part of what we celebrate within this atomistic world is the right of each of us individually to just participate in whatever kind of sin meets our individual fancy. And so there isn't the kind of relational connection that would cause us to say, why aren't you working? Why are you indulging in that sin? You don't have a right to say that to me. Like, I'm a free and sovereign individual. There is nothing above me in society. I report to no one. I'm a part of nothing bigger than what I am as an individual. And this is really something that has sort of trickled down from our politics, from our philosophy of governing. That because we have in the Constitution, family is not mentioned. These more complex molecules are not mentioned. We've decided to base society on the individual. Now, at the time, they were living in much more complex, these kind of molecular, and even back then, the voting was different. Back then, there was different laws about voting and the need to own land and different things like this. But over time, because those things were not protected and preserved well in the Constitution, things sort of broke down from that molecular sort of life into this hyper atomistic individual life. And now it's sort of like become a sacred almost religion that I have the right as an individual, because I know that I am, as an individual, the most basic and sovereign unit of society, because of this my right to vote, which is where I exercise my power in the government. That this has sort of created a sort of a ripple effect and has been part of what has caused us to think differently about everything, to think atomistically or individualistically about everything.